Val Kilmer, however, did not want to reprise his role as Batman due to difficult working relationship with Joel Schumacher. Schumacher said he sort of quit and we sort of fired him. Kilmer said he was unaware of the fast track of production, have already committed his working schedule to the movie The Saint. However, Schumacher originally had strong interest in casting William Baldwin, but George Clooney was cast instead. Schumacher believed Clooney could provide a lighter interpretation of the character than Michael Keaton in Batman and Batman Returns and Val Kilmer. Shooting schedule allowed Clooney to work both on ER and the film without schedule conflicts. Yeah, he was in ER. ER wasn't a bad show. I just was never big into like dramas, But I watched ER with my sister, so it wasn't a bad film. Oh, this one bothers me. I know I'm talking about Batman, Robin, and I'm supposed to be talking about Batman and Chain, but we're working up to it, so bear with me, folks. Patrick Stewart was considered for the role of Mr. Freeze, but before the script was rewritten to go to Arnold Schwarzenegger, Schumacher decided Mr. Freeze must be a big, strong, like he was chiseled out of a glazier. Schwarzenegger was paid $25 million for the role. To prepare for the role, Schwarzenegger wore a bald cap after declining to shave his head and wore blue LED in his mouth. Yeah, for $25 million, the motherfucker should be shaving his head. Oh, by the way, I'm supposed to apologize because someone got mad that I cuss on, the podcast, so I'm trying not to say shit, fuck, damn. But it's my show. But seriously, if you're going to pay someone $25 million, the fucker should shave his head. Even though it's a good bald cap. But seriously, shave your head. Anyway. That kind of annoys me. Sorry. My mouth was dry, so I had to get some water. Anyway, the best part about Batman Forever was Uma Thurman playing Poison Ivy, because you could tell she knows what she was doing. Alicia Silverstone was cast as Batgirl, which that bugged me. Her character is supposed to be British. She's supposed to be from Britain. She's supposed to be Alfred's niece. But she doesn't have a British accent. That bothered me. According to Schumacher, during the scene which the costumes of Riddler and Two-Face are seen, originally planned to put Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze escaping the asylum, while many of the villains saw them from their cells. However, the scene did not make the final film. That sucked. That would have been cool to see, the characters of Harvey Dent, Two-Face, and the Riddler. I'm sure Jim Carrey would have jumped at the chance to come back to do that scene. But the one thing that bothers me is Patrick Stewart not playing Mr. Freeze. I want a good Mr. Freeze story. For those who don't know, Mr. Freeze is my favorite Batman villain. But I don't really consider him as a villain. I consider him more as a man who's forced to do something he wouldn't do. And, Mr. Freeze is that type of character that you just wouldn't imagine doing what he's, is morally, that's morally against him. He's morally against doing. But, man, you missed a good opportunity getting a good actor to play Mr. Freeze. But, of course, if he did play Mr. Freeze, we wouldn't have Patrick Stewart in X-Men. So... like, if I would cast Mr. Freeze in a film now, Sir Ben Kingsley would be that guy. Because I'm a huge Ben Kingsley fan, so I think he would be perfect as Mr. Freeze. So, hopefully they cast him as Mr. Freeze, but... anyway, let's see. When the film came out, the film became a financial disaster. The film opened to $42 million in the weekend. Even though becoming the third highest opening weekend of 1987, the film declined 63% in the second week. The film faced off against early competition of the movie Face Off and Hercules. Wait, they did a Hercules movie back then? Oh, the cartoon. The cartoon Hercules. Schumacher blamed the yellow journalism, stating that Harry Knowles of Ain't It Cool News and other film websites. The film went on to gross over 107 million during North America and 130 million internationally, coming to the worldwide of 238 million. Warner Brothers acknowledged that the Batman Robin's shortcoming in domestic markets, pointed out success overseas. The film really, looking back at it, Schumacher, of course, went on to say the most obvious thing. The film was very toyetic. It was a very toyetic film. And I remember, in the 90s, there was, Batman toys everywhere. It was very overwhelming. But now, I would be like, thank you. I'd be having I have a lot of Batman toys. I have still to this day the George Clooney Batman action figure. I don't know which one it came from. I know it's I think it's supposed to be the anti Mr. Freeze Batman, where he it's very weird. And I have I have two Val Kilmer Batman action figures. I have the Batman and Robin Batman Forever action figure set, and I have the underwater Batman figure. And I got to take a photo of one. I found the very first Batman action figure I ever had as a kid, which is the animated series Batman, which is really cool. I was so happy I found it at a yard sale. So, let's get to the Unchained Batman. I have to say the title is very kinky. Batman Unchained. I don't know what the meaning of it is, but however, set after the events of Batman and Robin would end up parting ways due to disagreements. Batman would soon discover a crazy scientist named Jonathan Crane, also known as the Scarecrow. Flashbacks from the first three Batman films were to be shown in a dream sequence. Batman would also have hallucinations after being exposed to Scarecrow's fear toxins, in which he would be seeing Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, Two-Face, and the Riddler reunite to judge him on his trial. Harley Quinn would be intended to appear in the movie, rewritten as a toy maker and the daughter of the Joker, determined to get revenge on Batman for her father's death. That's right, Harley Quinn was originally supposed to appear. Schumacher wanted to bring in Harley Quinn, then he wanted to bring in Tim Drake, which I'm disappointed that didn't happen. But if the film happened, we wouldn't have Batman Begins, so we wouldn't have the amazing Dark Knight trilogy. So, we did get to see Harley in films now. A little too much Harley nowadays in comics and films and animation, but yeah, it's Harley Quinn. I wish they would do more with Tim Drake when it comes to like films and animation. But Tim is my favorite Robin because of Young Justice. Just for the look he gives Wonder Woman, like anytime she questions Batman. It's kind of funny. When it comes to casting, there's been this rumor, however, George Clooney refused to return as Batman, and Kurt Russell was in talks of possibly replacing Clooney as Batman. Alicia Silverstone, who played Batgirl Barbara Wilson, was going to return but instead went back to college. Michael Goff, who played Alfred, was expected to return, and the main choice to play Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, was going to be Nicolas Cage, even though in Batman and Robin, Coolio makes an uncredited appearance as Jonathan Crane, who was set to reprise his role in Batman Unchained. So, it was very confusing. When it comes to Harley Quinn, Courtney Love and Madonna were considered for Harley Quinn. Is Madonna kind of old to play Harley? She's kind of like 100 now, 150. She's kind of fucking old to play Harley, but what do I know? Courtney Love I could see because she's kind of batshit crazy, but she was also good in the movie Man on the Moon, which was the biopic of Andy Kaufman with Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman. Pat Higgle was going to return as Commissioner Gordon. I don't know why. Like, nothing against Pat Higgle, but he really brings nothing to Batman. I mean, you really don't see much of him in, the Batman films. I barely remember some of his lines in, Batman. Like, that's why I love Gary Oldman's portrayal of Gordon, because you got to see more of Jim Gordon. You got to see his human side. And I kind of agree with Schumacher's idea of wanting to do Batman Year One, because there was rumors of Michael Douglas playing Gordon. And I really honestly think Michael Douglas would have done a great job with Gordon, especially after falling down. Like, you got to see a guy who's sort of, dealing with shit around him and sort of like losing it. The various villains of the Batman films were supposed to return due to Scarecrow's fear toxin. I love how they did this scene, because like originally there was supposed to be the trial of Batman, where you have the main villains such as Catwoman. Yeah, I don't consider Catwoman a villain, but anyway. You're supposed to have Catwoman, Penguin, Two-Face and Riddler as the jury. And one scene, there's like an alley confrontation between Joker and Batman. There was supposed to be that scene, but it never happened. But Jack Nicholson, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Tommy Lee Jones, and Jim Carrey were supposed to return for it. However, similar elements of the Joker, Scarecrow, fear toxin, and Batman Arkham Knight happened. Do I think the script would have worked? I don't know. It's kind of weird. The script, however, was going to be written and said not by Avika Goldsman. It's supposed to be written by Mark. I can't even pronounce his last name.